True story, I was down at Papa Odell's in Cleveland, Tennessee a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, and I was approached by a gentleman and he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, Cody, right?" And I didn't recognize him, hadn't seen him before, and turns out he was a student inside of Flatpick Foundations, my beginner bluegrass guitar course, and he says, "Hey, I've noticed the video clip that you play of you playing bass up at ETSU. Could you do a bass lesson?" And I said, absolutely, and this is something that I've seen a lot of folks ask down in the comment section, and so today's lesson, or the goal of today's lesson, is to introduce basic bluegrass bass, we can also use this in country music, over a simple 1-4-5 chord progression here in the key of C. So grab your bass, there's going to be some important patterns here in this lesson that's going to make your job as a bass player really simple. Let's go ahead and get started. This would be in a situation to where the guitar player was playing over a C chord, an F chord, and a G chord, the 1, the 4, and the 5, respectively in the key of C. You might be asking, what do these numbers mean? I'm kind of freaked out by theory. Well, don't be because we do have to use a little bit of it in bluegrass music simply because it's the way that we communicate as musicians. So I'm going to flash up a special tool on the screen right now. This is called the circle of fifths. Don't be frightened by this. It's all going to make sense here in a second, because what we need to do in order to play, let's take for example a couple measures of the guitar playing C. What we play over that involves two special notes for each chord, okay? The first one is very simple. Right there in your circle of fifths, we are looking at, I'll circle it for you, our root note here in the key of C, the C note, okay? Now, directly to the right of any letter that you choose on the circle of fifths is going to be the fifth scale degree of that chord, and that's the other special note that we need in order to get this train driving rhythm that makes up bluegrass music, all right? Here's the first special pattern that you need to put in your memory bank right now. When we are on the bass and we are playing a note that is on the highest 3 strings, or the 3 strings furthest away from my face going downwards right here, that other special note is directly above the first special note. So right here, we have a C note. The other special note directly above it is that G note, okay? Let's take, for example, if we were playing a D note, which is right there. The other special note would be right above it. So if the guitar was just playing a C chord, we would have to alternate to keep that rhythm up and prevent the song from feeling stale or monotone. And this is called alternating our root notes, and it's what really gives us that bluegrass and country feel. But there's an important connection to make with the guitar here, which in my opinion is really important to understand. You might have seen this term in the bluegrass world, the boom chuck rhythm or the boom chick rhythm. People use it interchangeably. I say boom chuck. But what that means, or what the boom chuck rhythm is alternating within that chord between the root note and the fifth. Exactly what we are doing on the bass. The only difference is, on a bass, we're not strumming through it. We're just picking it or plucking it with our thumbs. And so there is the connection, which means that when you have the bass going, that means your guitar playing can become a little bit more free, because you don't necessarily have to mimic that the entire time because the bass is already doing it. Let's just take 2 measures of the C chord here, or playing over what would be a C chord, and let's see what that sounds like. I'm using the old trusty Strum Machine app, not endorsed. I just think it's that great of a practice tool if you're learning this style of music. 80 beats per minute, key of C. I've went ahead and taken the bass out of Strum Machine, that way it's only me playing, and when I put those 2 notes together, it'll sound like
1,
this.
2, 3, 4.
The next note in the sequence that we are focusing on is the F note. On your circle of fifths, wherever you're starting from, if you ever want to find the 4, which is what we need in this instance, it is directly to the left of that root note. And that brings us to the second thing I want you to stick inside of your memory bank here today. Don't forget this. When we are searching for that 4, all right, in this case, the F note, it is going to be directly below that root note. Okay, so the 5th is above, the 4th is below. And knowing what I just told you about the first thing to put in your memory bank, when we want to find the other special note of that F chord, if the guitar player is playing it, guess what? It is directly above where I'm playing, all right? That is the fifth. The first would be the F, the fifth would be that C note, all right? So I'm gonna add to Strum Machine the other chord, the F chord, and we're just gonna play between the C and the F chord.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'll also add, this is kind of a bare bones bass here playing through the PA system, so I apologize if this isn't like the best sound in the world, but that is the second chord in our 1, 4, 5 chord progression here. And the other one we're gonna spend a little bit of time on, the G chord, all right? Because there's another special concept to take away here, okay? Now, when we find our G note, or one of the G notes, it's right there. That's probably the most accessible one given that we are playing the C note and then the F note there. But there's a problem here because we can't play the other special note we need because there's nowhere to go up from, all right? Because we're already on the lowest string and then there's nothing above our finger here. So what in the world do we do? Well, this actually gets very simple, okay? Because our bass guitar is tuned E, A, D, G. All right, so there's an open G note right there, and you guessed it, the fifth that we need is right above it, okay? The only difference is we're not fretting any of this, all right? So the same pattern applies. There's our first special note, there's our other special note. Now, when we put that all together, I'm gonna add it onto Strum Machine here. We have a 1, 4, 5 chord progression in the key of C. I'm gonna play this through one time, but there is another rule that I'm going to explain after this demonstration that's really going to tie it all together. Let's go ahead and play through the 1, 4, 5, the C, the F, and the G. We'll do a couple measures of each. You'll see where those special notes play or come into play. And also just don't forget to look for these patterns. It's going to make everything very easy on you, all right?
4.
Before I go on, I recommend you practice that much. That way you get, at least in one key here, you know, this is like the bare bone sort of primary colors, the 1, 4, and the 5, the C, F, and G that you'll need to know in order to really just play through the basics. But when you're comfortable with that, I want you to go a step further here and let me explain another concept. And the simplest way I can explain it is before that chord changes, the measure before, we do not add the fifth, okay? I know it's kind of counterintuitive, but what we're doing is we're doubling up on the root note and it gives us a different effect. This is how you're going to hear most bass players play it in the bluegrass realm. So to contextualize and demonstrate that without Strum Machine, all right, so I'm going to circle the measures here that I'm not going to alternate between those two special notes because the next measure changes chords. I'm going to stay on the root, all right, and it gives us a different effect, okay? I'll play it once without and once with, all right? So we'll go like this. 2, ready, go. So alternate, alternate, don't alternate. That would be over the C over 2 measures, okay? And if this was over 4 measures, I would alternate like, and only double up on that measure before the change, okay? So basically, you're just taking away 1/5 note in the sequence of notes when it's about to change chords, right? So it actually makes it a little bit easier on you. Here's how it sounds with
1,
Strum Machine
2,
altogether.
3, 4.
Side side crazy story here. My bass teacher was actually Barry Bells from Alison, Krauss, and Union Station back in the day. Alison was going on tour with her, with Robert Plant, I think, in the wake of Raising Sands, if I'm not mistaken about the album name. And so Barry and a couple of the band guys came down to ETSU back, God, this is probably 2008, 2007, 2008, 2009, somewhere along there. And I got to take bass lessons from Barry Bells, which is really cool, of Alison Krauss and Union Station. Folks, if you like these bass lessons, let me know what else you'd like to learn down in the comment section, maybe transposing it to a different key or just like, you know, just more of the same sort of stuff. Just let me know. And if you haven't already gotten in there, I do offer a entire beginner-friendly bluegrass guitar course. A lot of the elements here today is really reflective of the teaching style into there, trying to communicate it to you as quickly and as effectively as possible. And so if you'd like to learn more information about that, a couple options, you can check the link down in the description. There's also a free mini course that you can sign up for. It's going to teach you some basic rhythm, some basic lead and runs and things like that, as well as like a lot of the music that I love bluegrass-wise is like clickable. It's really cool. It's like 30 pages long, that mini course. So check it out down below. And also, I love hearing your stories about your guitars and growing up and playing and everything like that. I am really trying to spend less time on my device, more time picking, playing, doing what I enjoy doing, and trying not to get sucked into the wormhole of the technology. So if you're into that, subscribe here on my channel, stick around. I'm gonna be doing a lot more videos like this. I have some cool stuff planned for the channel. Folks, we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.